Hey guys, if you haven't heard, the new Christopher Nolan war epic Dunkirk has just dropped a new trailer, and I have this, dare I say, interstellar panel to discuss. Oh, I had to do it. We got Dan Merle, we've got Mark Andreyko, and we are going to take a look at what could be one of the biggest blockbusters of the summer. John, hit it on the ones and twos. Let's take a look. That's beautiful.
Oof.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
The enemy tanks have stopped.
Are they just pushing the bodies away?
Why?
Yeah.
Why waste precious tanks when they can pick us off from the air like fish in a barrel?
It's like the
There are
pre-Saving Private
400,000 men
Ryan.
on this beach.
And here it becomes Saving Private Ryan.
And it's Saving Private Ryan, yeah. Oh, One Direction.
That's just chill.
That's why he's drowning
chilling.
himself.
He's coming back round. He's coming back round! Where are we going?
Cillian Murphy.
Dunkirk.
Oh, and Mark Rylance. That's fantastic.
Oscar winner, Mark Rylance.
There's no hiding from this sun.
He's a big friendly sailor.
We have a job to do. If we go there, we'll die.
Wow, that's a great shot.
Chris Nolan does have a good rep company of actors he uses.
He does.
That the plane splitting.
And knowing him, it was all real planes.
Tom Hardy.
Hello,
sighting.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Take my money.
You can practically see it from here.
What?
Home.
That's a great line to end it on because we all in America forget how small Europe is, and they were literally 100 miles from their home.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow. Well, that is not necessarily what you expect from a movie that will be coming out in July. I mean,
No.
It's ballsy to release a movie like that in the summer, that's for sure. A big budget movie that is going to be depressing as heck.
it's also not what we have seen a lot of from Chris Nolan. I mean, this is not the box. This is more of the Spielberg box. When you say, Dan, the local Spielberg expert,
I would. Yeah, no, this is very much, this is, I think this is something good for Christopher Nolan. He's been in the genre pocket for quite some time, really, since Batman Begins. We had The Dark Knight, we had The Dark Knight Rises. Inception, I think you could kind of put in that box. Interstellar,
Prestige,
you could.
for
Yeah,
sure.
this is definitely something that's, I like the fact that he's kind of taking this filmmaking on an epic level, and he's doing it with a story that not necessarily is, particularly in America, people think World War II started with Pearl Harbor, and they don't realize that there was a lengthy amount of time before we were involved when the war was very much in force. And that's when, if you don't know the story of Dunkirk, this takes place in pre-Pearl Harbor 1940,
Right.
Which the war was not going well
Yeah.
for the Allies, of which we were not one yet. And I like that, most World War II movies seem to take place, because a lot of them are made in America, either on Pearl Harbor, or in like 1944, 45 toward the end of the war. So I like that this is the part of the World War II that, you don't see as many movies about this part of the war.
Well, it's nice that it's expansive, too. It shows a non-American reaction to the Nazi threat. It's definitely ballsy for a studio to make a movie that's that expensive, that's not American-centric,
Yeah.
because we think we're the center of the world. And we are entertainment-wise in a lot of ways, but to see a movie that's going to make people actually learn something about history.
Yeah.
And it'll be nice to see if there's some emotion in this. I've always admired Chris Nolan, but I've always found his stuff a bit on the cold side. With the exception of Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight, his stuff is always really technically proficient, but always a bit stiff upper lip for me. And this alone looks so emotional. Just that last line is more emotional than most of his movies. I can almost see home from here. That's haunting and horrifying.
Well, how much do we think he's going to have to rely in terms of emotion on the cast? That cast is unbelievable.
Well, it's the
Kenneth
Royal Shakespeare
Branagh,
Company.
Yeah,
oh my
it's
gosh,
crazy.
Tom
Yeah.
Hardy. That just, we don't know what's going to happen with One Direction, but the rest of it looks, Cillian Murphy, who he has such a great working relationship with because of the Batman film.
Tom Hardy.
I mean, this for me is very, very exciting. What I wonder is, how can you have a film that is based in 1940 that doesn't just make you want to slit your wrists, because we know the war will not end for another 5 years.
No.
So there are no happy endings in this movie. And I
Well-
think that's what the trailer shows, is that this is going to be rough.
It's going to be rough, but I mean, I don't want to spoil history, but I guess.
That
I
we
don't
live
know.
in a world where that has to be
Exactly.
said
I
makes
don't
me want to
spoil
go walk in the
history.
water
I
like
know,
that guy.
right? But no, even in the movies that I love, is that even in the darkest times, there are stories of hope, there are stories of triumph. And this is ultimately, I mean, this is tinged with sadness because you know what's coming, but, Dunkirk was an event in the early stages of World War II, particularly on the European front, that was, for many years afterwards, when it got even darker, a source of hope, particularly for people in the UK, because this was a story of standing tough in the face of death, which is what I mean. These soldiers are. You see that is such a great shot of the banners being dropped that say you're surrounded. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the German army had pushed those forces, and they were done for. And for whatever reason, and the historians have battled, or argued about why exactly, the German forces stopped for a few days, and that allowed this, what I'm sure will be the events of this film.
Yeah,
to transpire.
it's very much a 20th century version of 300 in a lot of ways, because
Yeah.
these guys were cut off from everything. And I think war movies are inherently sad because they're war movies. If you go into a war movie expecting a happy ending, the happy ending of any war movie is the war is over, but there's still thousands of deaths. So I think we can have a nutritious movie for the summer. It'll be nice to have. There's always usually one adult movie that does well in the summer that's sort of a palate cleanser for all the superhero and video game and animated stuff. And this to me already has more emotion in this trailer than anything I think I've seen Nolan ever do.
You just said, you brought up the guy walking into the water.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think that's somebody killing themselves, or do we think that's Cillian Murphy swimming to that boat?
Oh,
that
that's a
Mark
guy killing
Rylance
I
himself.
think
He's,
that's a
he's
guy
taking
who's-
up all his stuff, and
yeah.
he thinks they're all going to die, so he's not going to give the bad guys
Wouldn't you leave your stuff on, because then you'd be heavier and you'd sink?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that was probably based on an eyewitness account, as many of these movies are, and that's the chilling thing. Is as powerful as these movies are, that there are things 10 times worse that people saw and did in war.
Well, Charlie Feldman has been on social media. We want to know what people have been saying. We also need some fact checks. How are we holding up in terms of facts?
Facts all sound good. It is really hard to say there are spoilers if you're coming
I mean,
into this movie, but
it's-
it's history, so look on Wikipedia and you
Yeah.
will spoil yourself.
Hitler's Luke's father.
But I think it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with the French, because the French were helping in the evacuation, and I don't want to say what happens at the end because I think that's going to be a big plot point for the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But the British will come back for them. But yeah, everyone's excited for it. A lot of people have a lot of great movies. We're going to see with the Twitter question today about what their favorite war film is.
Ah, interesting. Well, that was the Twitter question that we put out to you guys. What is your favorite war film? And we had some fantastic answers. A lot of people said it, but the first person to say it was Eric Monroe at Koch 200, I think, and he said Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Saving Private Ryan, which is just an absolute classic, and then Bill Carrillo, which is at Coupe de Bill, All Quiet on the Western Front. That is a great film. Charlie, what were people saying online? Ooh.
Good. So I had my volume up. Great. Saying about which?
Favorite war movies?
We had someone had the idea to do Jingle All the Way, the scene where Schwarzenegger and Phil Hartman are fighting.
Nice.
Which I really enjoyed. Paths of Glory, obviously a really great one. Full Metal Jacket, a great one. Lots of amazing suggestions coming from our audience.
Dan, what's yours?
Mine is Saving Private Ryan. It's one of my favorite films of all time, and it's actually analogous to this movie in many ways. Saving Private Ryan was a summer release. And it wound up being, I believe, the top-grossing film of that year, releasing in the summer for many of the same reasons. Was amongst all of the stuff that summer, that was a really key, one of the greatest robberies in Oscar history. Still, I don't care if you like Shakespeare in Love. Saving Private Ryan, I think, is one of the best movies ever made. I think it's Steven Spielberg's best movie.
What do you think, Mark?
I would go with some of the ones that were mentioned. It's a toss-up for me for the two Kubrick movies, Paths of Glory with Kirk Douglas about World War I, and Full Metal Jacket, which I think is in and of itself two of the best war movies ever made. it really, both of those movies really make you feel the bleakness and the bravery of these men, and I think that's really important. I think the more movies should make you be haunted by what these people sacrificed, and I think those are both really classic films.
On a totally opposite front, you brought up bravery just now. You have an incredible project, and I want you to tell everybody about it before we finish up here today.
Oh, sure. You guys have heard about this a couple of times when I've been here. A book I kind of organized called Love is Love to raise money for the survivors and victims of the Orlando massacre, which was 6 months ago on Monday, which is crazy to think of. But it's a book that includes some of the best comics writers and artists of all time. I have an advanced copy here that I can hold up and show to the camera. It doesn't glare too much. Let me find my light here. This will be out December 28th. It was co-published by DC Comics and IDW. It's got Brian Bendis, Grant Morrison, Mark Millar, Patton Oswalt, Morgan Spurlock, you name it, Phil Jimenez, George Perez, Jim Lee. It's got a great collection of artists. There's all 1- and 2-page stories honoring the concept of love is love. Some are directly about people that were killed in Orlando. It's all $10, and every penny was donated. Everything was donated. So every penny you spend buying a copy of this goes directly to people that were affected by what happened in Orlando. And I couldn't be prouder of it. It's a tough read, obviously, but it's an inspirational book. It's about love being love. It's not about politics. So it's a really great gift because the collection of artists is unprecedented. I think we're in the Guinness Book of World Records now for the most comic book professionals in one book. But to see it come to life, to see something like this come out of that sadness is really great. And you will need Kleenex with the book, but it's a really, really wonderful book. And you won't be disappointed in it. It's worth every penny, and you're going to help people directly, so it's a good thing at this holiday season.
We were lucky enough to get to look at it before, and it is gorgeous. Thank you so much for doing it. And guys, thank you so much for being here with us. We want to know what you think about Dunkirk. Let us know in the comments. You can tweet us at SJ News. And of course, you can always click here for more Screen Junkies news. We'll be back soon.